What's up, guys? This is Marco Stunt, and you're listening to All Elite Podcast.
I'm Mark Quinn. This is Isaiah Cassidy, and we are Private Party.
And you're watching the All Elite Podcast.
This is Luchasaurus, and that's Jungle Boy. And you need to check out All Elite Podcast.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast.
You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
What's up, man? It's the Afro Machine, this Wolverine, Mr. GMSI himself, and man with the huge ass and arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. Who better?
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast. As always, I'm your host, All Elite Andy, joined by my boy, Big Match AJ. We're short a couple of co-hosts, Kira and Phil. Both had to work today. We're all trying to get a little bit used to our new schedule, but you got the two amigos, the OGs, if you will, of the All Elite Podcast. How you doing, AJ?
I'm doing good. Went to school today, got some work done. I told you how that went, but overall, it was a good day.
That's good, man. I'm happy you had a good day. I've been a little bit busy dealing with some school stuff today, too. But I am excited to finally get the opportunity to talk about Dynamite. We talked about All Out on Saturday, which was a great show. And I think they followed up with an interesting Dynamite. I'm not going to sit here and go out on a limb to say it was the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst. You could feel that we're sort of almost starting a new season of AEW, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine for a post-pay-per-view show. If it was a regular run-of-the-mill show, I would be probably a bit more harsh on it, but I'm not.
Yeah, I can understand that. Just the fact that it wasn't necessarily the most. It's a follow-up show. That's where we got to start building to what's coming next. And so in that sense, I liked it. Before we talk about the show, let's go ahead and talk about the ratings that they did. They drew over 1 million viewers with that pay-per-view All Out. This is obviously a great number. It's an interesting situation going into next week where they're kind of unsure what date they're going to be airing, but this is a great number, especially with no competition. It just goes to show how much better it is for professional wrestling as a whole when they're just not competing with each other. It's clear 1 million people want to tune into each show. They just don't have the time.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, the drawback here is maybe WWE is less likely to pull the trigger on putting NXT on Tuesdays, because Tuesday NXT drew what, 826, 856, something like that.
Yeah.
And so obviously they haven't hit 1 million, but give it time, keep it on Tuesday, you will.
Yeah, or it's probably doing a better demo rating for them. And honestly, we don't care a whole lot about NXT's rating, but we do care because of the fact that it sort of prevents us from seeing AEW just by itself. And I would like to see both shows on different days just to give me the opportunity.
I like watching both.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching NXT if I had the time. I just literally never have the time. So it's a great rating, though, for AEW, something to be excited about. Clearly, things are getting better, especially coming out of a pandemic in the middle of the NBA playoffs. So in a couple months, I don't seem to think that things are going to get worse. They're just going to get progressively better. 1 million could be a consistent number even against NXT.
This was up against really popular and apparently very exciting Raptors game, right?
I don't know for sure, and I don't want to speak on that because I don't know. Phil would know better. But if there was an NBA game that it was up against,
well, I just know Ed was
so.
talking about it during the show.
Oh yeah,
so
that is true.
There definitely was a game going on, and I'm pretty sure it had Game 7 implications, and it went to triple overtime or almost triple overtime, and apparently it was really, really exciting. I saw some people on the Reddit saying it was the first time they watched sports instead of AEW, and the first time in a long time it was that exciting. So
wow.
Against something like that, it's surprising that they pulled in 1 million.
Yeah, that is a good point. It's not something I really thought of, but up against an NBA playoffs game, they did a fantastic number. And again, it's just something to be excited about in terms of the product's doing well. The content is pretty good for the most part. There's not a whole lot I'm complaining about there either. And clearly other people feel the same way. That's why they're doing better numbers progressively. And like I said, I think NXT would be better off to switch now because I don't think AEW is going to lose a lot of those fans. I think the fact that the opportunity came is what did NXT in. So I'm excited about it. Great number. Another interesting note, I don't even know if you know about this. I just noticed this. Apparently, Jack Evans is currently out with an injury. People were speculating maybe there was just an issue with maybe he had some heat or something crazy like that. But no, he's just out with an injury. He's waiting to be cleared to return to the ring, and then hopefully we'll see some more TH2. So.
Yeah, definitely. I love TH2, man, and I think they're both great, Angelico and Jack Evans. But I especially love Jack Evans, so I hope we get to see him back on whether it's Dark or TNT or whatever. I just want to see more of him.
Yeah, and I guess this is an interesting thing we definitely should talk about, just because we've talked about how the schedule is going to be a little weird next week, and you've already talked about the playoffs. This says if the NBA playoffs between the Lakers and the Rockets ends in 6 games, Dynamite's going to air next Wednesday in its usual time slot. If it goes to 7 games, then it'll air on Thursday night. We will know but they're also speculating that there might be 2 nights of Dynamite. So
really?
Let me if Dynamite ends up airing in its normal time slot next Wednesday, then the 1-hour Dynamite show will be moved to Tuesday, September 22nd. Okay, so it will be like a following week. It's all very strange. But the one thing I will give them is they're doing fine throughout the strange scheduling. It's something.
They are.
It might be the advent of the internet era where people can just search what time and what channel a show is on. But this situation might have done them in 10, 15 years ago. 5 years ago, maybe even, but it's amazing almost because they're not really affected, and it's the playoffs, and it's good to see this because if the world goes back to normal next year, there will be a regular NBA season, and AEW will be affected a lot. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, when things go back to normal, and eventually they will, AEW will heavily be affected where they're going to be moving all over. So to see them keeping up a good number while they're jumping to Thursday or Wednesday or who knows which, in this case, it is really refreshing and good to see that fans, especially AEW fans, apparently they really follow the product. Like you said, like they'll follow the social media, they'll go on the internet, they'll stick with them whatever time slot they're on, and that's really nice to hear and see. It's just kind of amazing that they can pull even an 800,000 number whenever they're on a different date with almost like in this case it'll be almost no notice, but usually they have an idea and they can promote it to be like, oh, it's gonna be Thursday. But there have been Dynamites where they've just said next week and they didn't know when.
Yeah, exactly.
Like during when COVID started, they didn't know if there was going to be a Dynamite on TV.
That's a fair point. Yeah. So it's interesting that the fan base is absolutely willing to follow them to different nights because the product's good enough. You know, you want to see what's going to happen next. It's kind of like your favorite TV show. If they had to change what date it was on, but you were still excited with the product, you would remember. You would make a way to remember. Social media would remind you. So it's cool to see just how good it's been for AEW and how consistent they've been throughout the sports season, and it's going to be something that they'll continue to deal with as long as they're on TNT, so it's good to see it's been good. All the other news is basically revolving around Dynamite or the end of Dynamite, which is an interesting news bit in and of itself, but we'll get to that. Let's go ahead and just quickly talk about Dynamite. It was an interesting show. Like we said, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst, but it was a decent enough episode of Dynamite. It opened up with Tony Schiavone, outside. MJF and Chris Jericho both arrive. They kind of schmooze each other for a minute before walking away and shitting on each other. It was an interesting little segment, but it didn't. I guess it's interesting because I feel it has to have some implication for the future, but it didn't do a whole lot for right now.
Yeah, also today when they broke 1 million, Chris Jericho and MJF both tweeted "You're welcome" at the same time. So I don't know what the significance of that is. Maybe it's just a joke. Maybe it's just the heels losing post-show, so they're going to make a point of it. I don't know, but maybe it will lead somewhere, maybe it won't. Either way, I thought it was a fun segment. It was short enough, so if it doesn't lead anywhere, I'm not going to be like, man, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to think of an MJF versus Jericho feud where Jericho could potentially be playing babyface or something.
Absolutely.
There is plenty you could do that would still be very interesting. And with Jericho, sort of, you don't want to say he's on the tail end of his career, but he's older. You know, it's the tail end of his career for the most part. He's got to want to get a good feud in with MJF, and he knows. Like, imagine the promos for that one. These two would absolutely kill it with each other. in a different way than Mox and Max could have done. So I like that there is apparently something of this budding. I have to believe so, because Jericho said it himself in some type of interview or tweet or something, that things don't just happen for no reason. And this kind of felt like no reason, but it's a reason, you know?
Yeah. And also to that point, I always thought that if Jericho wasn't a champion or wasn't chasing a title, there's a shelf life to him being a heel. And he is chasing a title right now, so I'm not saying that's right now, but when he doesn't have anything going on title wise and he's not like in this position of being, the big bad, like everybody's cheering for him already.
Yeah.
They sing his damn theme song with the 15% capacity crowd. They have Jericho signs. There's a shelf life to it because everybody loves Chris Jericho. It's hard to hate him, and it's going to only get harder to hate him. Like with Orange Cassidy, that's easier. Orange Cassidy is so lovable. It's easy to like him. But like when we saw his match with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, I don't think a lot of people are going to be rooting for Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss over Chris Jericho. And that's just the fact of the matter. And if they're going to go after the tag titles, FTR certainly can't be champion, because I think they're obviously going to cheer Jericho over FTR at this point. FTR have been doing a great job as heels, despite what I initially thought of that being a bad idea. And so I don't know what's going to go on with Jericho, but like, because he still has the whole stable, which helps him.
Well, what if MJF
be a heel,
took it from him in some way? That would be.
That would be cool.
I don't know exactly how you do it in a way that, because I do think it would be cool, but I think it could be ineffectively done as well. So if they do it effectively, it could be very cool and creates an interesting story. MJF all of a sudden has all the bodies around him he needs once again. So who knows? Who knows? But this was an interesting segment that meant nothing right now, but it has to mean something in the long run. Commentary, we have the same guys, Tony, JR, and Excalibur, but hey, we got to keep note of that because sometimes I don't even know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they change it up, and we're messed up. So it's good to see JR back, I guess. I think that he has issues. I think that he has said some stupid stuff, but I don't think his slip-up on the pay-per-view or any of his slip-ups have been egregious enough to remove him from his position. I don't think so either. I think that in hiring this older gentleman, you already know what you're getting in terms of there's just going to be some shit like that and it's not even like he just slips up and says dumb shit. It's not even that controversial. It's just wrong because he doesn't know indie wrestling and stuff. So they knew that when they got into it with him, so don't cancel him the second he says something kind of stupid. I do agree with that, but I will also call him out every time he says stupid shit because that's what we're supposed to do. From there, we get Jurassic Express picking up a surprising win over the Lucha Brothers. About 9.5 minutes. Eddie Kingston's furious post-match. He says he's there for them. Where's your British friend? He's not here. He asks what happened at the Battle Royal. He tells them all to stop fighting and that they should be running the place. He demands that they shake hands. Penta refuses and pushes Phoenix. Eddie insists and he does it. That's kind of a weird thing to me, is just having
it was weird.
Penta push Phoenix of all people. That dilemma. But again, to me, again, this could be some red herring type shit where these three are getting ready to turn on the Butcher and the Blade. That's the only thing I could maybe think of from that.
Maybe. I thought it was weird too. Well, first of all, I want to go into the match. Jungle Boy looked like $1 million. I tweeted that out. A lot of people agreed, apparently. But he looked great in this. I was, like you said, this was a surprise victory. I wholeheartedly expected the Lucha Bros to win, and I was going to be fine with that too. As much as I like as much as I like Jungle Boy, I don't even care about the tag team that much. But as much as I like Jungle Boy, I really expected this to be a Lucha Bros win, and I love the Lucha Bros, so I wasn't going to be mad about it. But it was a very surprising and good match. They really had a good match here. Luchasaurus was kind of the weak link in it, but he wasn't terrible. Shout out to our boy Joseph for me saying that even.
You're at the bar!
Oh, that's not the right one.
Joseph. Big Joseph. Joseph. Big Joseph.
But aside from that, it was a great match. And like you said, after the match, when Penta pushed Phoenix, I was like, he's your brother, dude. You're gonna stop teaming with him? What's going on? And so it was a little awkward almost, but like whatever. They shook hands. I guess it was just a morale thing, or maybe like you said, they're gonna turn on the Butcher and the Blade. But I feel like honestly, the Butcher and the Blade need a mouthpiece more than the Lucha Bros. as weird as that is to say, because the Butcher and the Blade are kind of, for lack of a better term, to me, like promo wise vanilla.
I never even
Like
really heard a promo from them to say. You know what I mean?
yeah, like just like what. And before, I assume they aren't that great at promos because they got started and they were with Ali, and then they were on their own for a bit, weren't doing much, and now they're doing things again once they have a mouthpiece again. So
Yeah,
I'm assuming there's a reason for that.
that's fair.
And like I don't know. I mean, maybe they're fine on the mic, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, this was a little awkward, a little weird. Don't know where they're going with it exactly. But I like Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston always delivers a good promo, even though it was awkward. Eddie Kingston was on
Yeah, well,
point.
and that's kind of been a thing about Eddie is some of his promos they've been good, but they've had awkward moments to them where it's like,
Yeah.
man, that like if he just had better content or better situation going on for him, it probably would be easier. But right now, it's like, what in the fuck? Like sometimes,
They need opponents, not infighting.
yeah, but
Like the infighting was fine when they started the group, but now that the group is established, you need opponents.
yeah, we'll have to see where it goes with that. But it's definitely an interesting situation. From there, we replay some images of Mox versus MJF, just recapping what happened there. And then we get a Jake Roberts promo. He says that Moxley might be able to go out and play the good guy, drive his fancy car. They're here to trash cars and trash people too. Archer said says he has nothing but despair to look forward to when he steps into the ring with him. He's going to be the AEW champion and everybody dies. So a short, quick promo from Roberts and Archer. I don't love when Archer talks for himself because Roberts is just even though Archer's not bad.
No, he's
Roberts
not.
is
But
just
like
so much
Roberts
better.
is so good. It feel like because when Lance was doing promos in New Japan, they were great. But that's not comparing them to Jake Roberts because he was on his own there. So whenever you hear Jake Roberts talk and you cut to a guy screaming and going it feels like a little weird. If you remove Jake from the equation, it would be fine.
Yeah.
But if you just let it be Jake, then it's great. That's the difference. Also, they were in the rain. I forgot to put that in the notes, but they were it was like fake rain, and people on our chat were talking about how it was raining and nobody was getting wet. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with the rain gimmick. They talked about it a little too, but I can't for the life of me remember what the hell they were talking about. Just like, we don't mind getting wet. I was like, okay.
Damn, they're real.
Yeah.
Moxley must melt when he gets wet. That's what it is.
Yep.
But nonetheless, decent little promo. Kind of, that's the weird thing about Archer sometimes is you do get some shit like that where you're like, this is kind of crazy, but it's all right. From there, we get a Matt Hardy promo. He just thanks the crowd. He explains kind of what happened on Saturday night. He explains that he's the luckiest man alive. Talks about how he has his family at ringside. They show Rebby there, all pissed off. He apologizes that the Broken Rules match wasn't...
She was not pissed off.
Oh, she was mad as hell, bro. You couldn't see her face under that mask, but she was mad. She was like, this is dumb. And then he says that now is the time for him to get back to getting healthy. When he's cleared, he's going to get back into the ring and chase his first AEW title. So that was something I thought was a little strange. Why? I do understand it was an injury, but if it's not a concussion, why are you waiting to be cleared?
I think they're just playing it up because, well, I don't know, because if they were playing it up, I fully expected Sammy to come out and kill him, but that didn't happen. Nobody came out and killed him. I have no idea what. I guess this was just because like it was such a controversial moment that they wanted to give clarity to the fans of like, hey, I'm okay, and that's fine. I understand it from that perspective of like, well, everybody's upset about this or everybody has an opinion about this, so let's clear it up on Dynamite. And to that end, I get it, but I also expected it to, I don't know, move a story in some way, which it really didn't. Other than, I guess, Matt Hardy's going to chase the title, so I guess he's done with Sammy.
That's kind of strange. I don't know. That's where I was waiting for Sammy to attack him as you were, and maybe we'll just get that when he is technically physically cleared. But that's where it all just becomes such a weird situation. You hope that it's all good. But he's not cleared to get back into the ring right now, but he was cleared to climb up the scaffolding and throw Sammy off of it. I get that you had time to reevaluate him, but that's kind of a skeptical situation in that of itself, you know. And I'm not clamoring for him to wrestle right now. I'm kind of just saying that, to me, I just hope that it's all legit, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it's not WWE, and I think maybe I'm saying that as a WWE fan, where we've had many years of just maybe being lied to, or you don't get the whole truth about a situation. So I just hope it's not that. I hope it's, especially with his wife sitting there tweeting, "Oh, it's definitely a concussion," and of course she's no doctor. But it is a situation where if you're not a doctor, from the outside looking in, it didn't look like it did look like a concussion. So
Yeah.
and then the being cleared situation and this, that, and the third, it does just I'm skeptical. But nonetheless, with it being Matt, with it being AEW, I'm not gonna sit here and act like they're lying or hiding some stuff. It just seems funny. But in all. And the biggest thing of it is I don't know what the situation was at the pay-per-view, but I don't think that finishing that match really needed to happen at the end of the day.
No, it didn't.
So and then he could give this explanation now and have said that everything is okay, and this be a whole different situation. So and it's a great situation in the sense of he's not injured, he's not like everything's fine. Everyone was worried he is apparently injured in some way, but he's getting better. So
yeah,
it's just a weird thing.
I mean, I get what you mean about the WWE stuff though, heavily. Like I get the same vibes. Like, man, maybe they're not telling us something, or they're doing this to save face, or whatever. And like, I don't know. Like, I mean, AEW hasn't done anything like that so far, so why should we say they have just based on what another company has done so many times? So I'm, like you said, I'm not going to say that that's the case, but it does seem weird.
It just raises some eyebrows at the end of the day, and I think anyone who says otherwise is kind of just being naive. And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying that it's a situation that's a little weird, and I think they handled it as best as they could in the moments that they've been given, because it's like 2-minute moments you have to figure it out. So it is what it is. Matt's doing better, so that's all we can really be happy about. From there, we get Orange Cassidy jobbing out Angelico in about 3 minutes. Angelico's return to Dynamite television as they're trying to make me believe he can somehow win because he won on Dark in singles competition the night before. But I've also been listening to everyone who can be interviewed this week talk about how Orange Cassidy is now a main eventer, even though that's not the vibe I got from him.
No,
in that storyline at all. But yeah, I knew he wasn't going to lose this match, and he wins. But then afterwards, gets jumped from behind by Santana and Ortiz, and some people didn't love that, I guess, because he is supposed to be a main eventer. But
I didn't love it. It made me think like, wow, do you have nothing going on for Orange Cassidy? And you reminded me like, of course they do, and I was like, yeah, you're right. But at the time I was thinking like, all he did was squash a guy and get jumped. Like they didn't build up anything for him. I don't know what's gonna happen. My only thought process is that maybe he'll go for the TNT title. But I don't know. Which is cool that I don't know, but a main eventer? No. Like, he's not. Like, upper mid card, maybe. That's fine. We can say that. Mid card, upper mid, he's somewhere in there. He's over enough to be considered in that area. But, like, nobody's like, man, I want to see Orange Cassidy versus John Moxley. I want him to win the world title. Like, no, you don't. Like maybe you will at some point if he keeps up being a serious wrestler and continues with his, like, pockets in the hands while he's, still wrestling. Sure. But, like, that's going to be a problem in and of itself to see if Orange Cassidy can keep up his popularity while he's not doing feint kicks and being a joke character.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's still, like you said, just like an upper mid carder. We're still gonna have to wait and see. He didn't really get a real victory over Jericho, man. And anyone who's a fan of professional wrestling saw that. Like, there's no way you didn't see that in the way that the storyline was set out. Was that he beat Jericho in storyline and went over, yes, but he never beat him. So just that in it of itself is what makes it hard for me to say, yeah, he's a main eventer. But this segment was fine. I understand him getting jumped from behind by two guys with weapons and not being able to take them both down, because he's not a Roman Reigns main eventer. He's a Rey Mysterio main eventer who should be susceptible to that kind of attack. But I do understand to an extent not wanting it to happen a week after he beats Jericho, and that is the one thing I do agree with. But it was an okay segment. It sets up the final situation between the Best Friends and Proud and Powerful. So, and that'll be a good match. Yeah, that'll be a good match. So it'll be a lot of fun. It adds a great match to next week's Dynamite and should close out this feud. And I agree with you. I anticipate the Best Friends and OC to kind of go into a feud with the Dark Order, so which would include the TNT title situation. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but it's kind of the only thing really available for Orange right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, and Brody versus OC could be fun. It could be cool. Like, I'm up for that. So,
I guess
I don't know. I think
it's
it
not
would
the
be a
only
fine
thing
way to go.
available, because I do get corrected when I say stuff like that. There are guys like Cage and stuff, but they're all
Sure.
kind of wrapped up in their own thing. So
Yeah, they kind of got stories going. Like everybody who's been on TV kind of has something going on at least. So I don't know. I feel like if Cody's not coming back for a while, and I don't know if he is or not, then
We'll
it
get
doesn't
to
have
that.
to be Cody right now.
We'll
Like
get-
you
we'll
can
get
get
to
to
what
Cody
that-
at the pay-per-view.
we'll get to what that Mark Cody's doing in a little bit. like they said during Dynamite like 50 times, we got an announcement from Cody at the end of the show, after the show, at the end of the show. So we'll get to that. This was a fine segment. After this, we go to Alex Marvez. He's backstage trying to talk to the Young Bucks. They finally open their door and super kick him, so they don't want to talk to him. Excalibur played this up pretty good, talking about how he's seen these guys in this zone before where they're just mad at the world or just in a dark
Yeah.
place. And from that perspective, I liked it, but this was kind of...
Weird.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, it was weird. But I didn't hate it because Marvez got kicked, so that's fine. But other than that, I should mention, because I don't mention it later in the notes, they got fined $5,000 each for this event. And that's an interesting add-on. You actually reprimand your employees. Not that it matters.
They're
They're
executive
millionaires. Like,
vice
who cares about
presidents, not just
$5,000?
employees. They're the VPs, bro.
Yeah, they find themselves $5,000 and they're millionaires. Who cares?
They almost have
a
enough
best-selling
votes to
book that's
veto
not
that.
out.
They almost have enough votes to veto that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they just need Kenny on board.
So I kind of like that. I kind of like them holding them accountable for that situation and kind of giving them a reason to be more jaded at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
it feeds into them being more pissed off. So it was a short segment, so relatively easy to consume. And unless you're dying for the Young Bucks to stay babyface, then you probably liked it, because if you've seen these guys as heels, man, it's gonna be fun. So
Yeah,
and they have-
I love the Young Bucks.
they have
I'll
a
just
deep
say
enough-
it. Like,
go ahead.
I know you and Phil hate the Young Bucks. That's fine, okay? But like, they're great. Like, I've loved them since I saw them in Chikara with fucking Malachi. Okay, they're a great tag team, and they've always been a great tag team. But I especially love them as heels because they're just two skinny white dudes who, when they start winning over and over again, and they're heels, and they're not only doing that but putting on a good match while they win against teams you like. It's like, man, fuck you, Young Bucks. It's so fun to hate them.
I was gonna say, it's fun to hate them. It's hard to like them as baby faces sometimes because they are just so easy to hate. But yeah, I can say that I'm excited for that part. Them as faces, you're not wrong. I don't love it, but I also don't. I'm not against it. You know, I get it. I got it, especially for the first 9 months of this company, a year. But now it's time, and I'm glad of it. It's gonna be fun. So, and they have a deep enough tag team that in and of itself should be a big reason why that'll be fun. They have plenty of people to work with to treat shit that they've never treated like shit before, and that's what's great about them. So after this, we get Kip Sabian announcing who his best man is, the highly anticipated segment. Tony Schiavone was out here, but Kip shooed him away. He said he's not here for his best man. A fat guy named Puff comes out, says that he thought he was going to be Kip's best man, but this was just one of Kip's Twitch fans. He told Kip, "You're the best man," or Kip told him, "You're the best man" yesterday. He was just talking about being a Twitch follower.
For subscribing, yeah.
Then Brian Pillman Jr. comes out. He says he got his text saying, "You're the best man," but of course that was
his
wrong.
birthday.
Yeah, Kip Sabian says they're not even friends, and he hopes his birthday sucked, which I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't have minded Pillman Jr. and Kip as a team.
No, I wouldn't either. I was kind of thinking this is cool.
Yeah, it was a weird but fun thing. And instead, after that, we get something a little bit more fun. Miro makes his debut, formerly known as Rusev. At first, I was like, who the fuck is Miro? And then I realized. And then it wasn't the best debut. It's kind of similar to the Evan Bourne debut in the sense of the entrance was the best thing. He got on the mic and just cut a promo that wasn't really... It was very TNA-esque in terms of you get a new WWE superstar who comes in, the most disappointing part is I would have just been fine with him coming in and destroying Kip. Like,
yeah, same. I swear to God, I almost said to you whenever you said weddings always pop a rating, that they only pop a rating when Rusev is around, and I wish I did. But I'm just thinking like that's why it's a wedding. It's because Rusev's here. Miro is here, and it's Miro Day. Of all days to get 1 million viewers, Andrew, it's Miro Day.
Yeah.
And anyways, it was bad. Okay, it was bad, and it's not like it was so bad that they can't redeem it or it's going to be terrible going down the line. That's not the case at all. People are saying it's way worse than it is. And some people love it, by the way. We might be the minority in even saying it's bad. Some people were losing their shit.
Because they're happy to see him, and I'm happy to see him.
Yeah.
One, he didn't even say Miro Day, so get out of here with that. I did on Twitter, so I'm putting that over more than Miro himself did. Second of all, his promo just wasn't that good, man. I'm mad excited for him to be there. I'm excited for him to be a part of the company. He can easily redeem himself to me and become my favorite guy next week. But and I don't even mind if he stays with Kip because it works as those two together. But I'm dying for him to be a babyface, man. And I feel like a lot of people are. This was a guy who was so over as a babyface and had such a great following. To try and push him as a heel just because he's a big guy right now, I don't want to see that. That's why I wanted him to kill Kip.
He cut a babyface promo too, so maybe he will kill Kip, just not yet. But
that's what's going on with MJF too, and the Dark Order. So
yeah,
how many times are you going to use the same storyline while it's already happening? That's where my issue with that is, because I do think he's going to still kill Kip, but where does that play in here? It's kind of interesting. I do like it that he's here. I like that he's with Kip. It's funny that his gimmick is just that he's the best man, because isn't that what his entrance said? Like that,
yeah,
I feel like that's his nickname is the best man. I don't know how you keep that rolling after the wedding happens, or if he's just always going to be someone's best man. But
I think it's just supposed to be like he's the best man.
And
like
I don't know.
It sounds stupid.
I don't love pairing him with the Twitch situation either. I get it. He's on Twitch.
Either.
I understand, but it just doesn't work. He's also not the best gamer. He's
That's
not.
Why you watch him.
No, he's not. He can't beat
Yeah, he
anyone at
is.
anything. I haven't seen him ever win any video games. The only video I saw him in was he didn't know his computer specs. So, I love Miro, man. I'm just talking shit. Like, but
no, it was bad.
The Twitch stuff is kind of goofy. For him, it doesn't work. For Kip, it works. For him, it doesn't. It might just be because he's a big, strong dude, and that's not really what you want to see in gamers. You want to see them be the nerdy, geeky guy like Kip. But yeah, pairing them just because they're Twitch homies, it's gonna be a tough one to get over. But if they can get it over,
I didn't hate this as much as everyone else did. I didn't like it, and I'm not defending it. But I certainly didn't hate it as much as everybody in our chat did. Because in my mind, I was like, yeah, okay, this is TNA shit, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to bounce back from it. And it doesn't mean that they're going to keep going brass rings, Twitch. Like, if they have any sense in the world, they're going to stop doing that and just start pushing the guy, because that's what you do. And so far AEW has not been so stupid as to, like, the only pot shot that ever stuck was the Demo God.
Well,
and like
I was gonna say Brody kind of backed off of it. I think a lot of times, and it might not even be a total AEW thing, because this wasn't a scripted promo for sure. This was some shit he came out there and just flubbed up all on his own. But I'm not sure they even wanted him to say all of it like that. So in that sense, I don't blame him. But yeah, I think that's the positive, is in the couple weeks he's got it off his chest. He might have to get a couple more pot shots off his chest because he's been with the company for 8 years. and then we'll be at a normal situation for him. And I think he's just got to get his feet wet, get into that situation, and he'll be much better off. I just hope, man, I hope so hard that he doesn't become AEW's Damian Sandow in terms of a really entertaining character that you bring in from another company, and they're just way different now because his look is different, his name is different, which, I mean, it's his real name, I get that, but...
Listen, I like Damian Sandow in NWA, so I'll say that.
It took 4 years after he went to
It
Impact.
sure did. It took a while, but like in NWA, he was a really fun character. So I'll just want to defend Sandow a little bit, but I hear what you mean. You don't want to see him just fall into a trap of like being a different guy.
Trying to be something so new that it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Again, I'm so happy that he's with the company. I was a huge Rusev fan when he was with WWE. One of the reasons I was really excited about the company at a point in time. So him being in AEW, and I kind of really like his new look. It's just I worry about it. That's all. I like the blonde hair. I liked what he was wearing. To me, it felt like kind of Tito Ortiz-esque, like 2003, like cool, but old school cool. And I like it, so we'll see where it goes, especially if he comes out dressing like an MMA guy too. So we'll see. I don't want to bury the Miro thing in it of itself, but if you say that segment was great, man, that promo was rough. So you got to at least give it that much. After this, we get Hangman Page. He's backstage having a conversation with Tony Schiavone and just sort of gives his feelings on the situation, says he didn't want to lose the titles, that they've had a lot of problems, but they've had a lot of victories. But he seems to have an idea that they're going to keep going for it. He says he wants to continue being tag team champion. We'll find out later that Kenny wasn't really interested in that. So it's interesting, another layer of the storyline.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And like, back to what I was saying on Saturday, Hangman's definitely alone. Like, doesn't have the Bucks. He definitely doesn't have Kenny. Kenny made that clear. So really there's nowhere, like he has no direction. I don't mean he has no direction in the storyline way. I mean, like, in the idea is supposed to be that he has nowhere to go right now. He has no friends. He has like nothing
Mr.
except
Lonely.
Yeah, he's just sad boy Hangman. And that's great. I love it. I think this could be really cool. And Kenny Omega's been teased. We'll get to it, but he's been teasing the cleaner coming back on Instagram. So we could definitely. Well, we're gonna see Hangman and Kenny. Like, that's and that's what we've been building to all this time, Hangman and Kenny. So it's gonna be interesting. It's interesting how they're doing it, because in a sense you think like, well, we're doing Hangman and Kenny. They're not being a tag team again. Why didn't Kenny just hit him? And like, in retrospect, I mean, like, why not just have him hit him? Like, that'd be fine.
Because you don't got to, you don't have to. And I agree with you. I was almost in that. I've been in that same boat with you until about 45 seconds ago, when I really thought about it. And I'm like, we as wrestling fans are used to the feuds, just like they start off with that big bang. There's no real lead up to it, and then we get the match and it's over. We're getting a slow lead up, and as long as the big bang comes, that's where I'm getting a little worried. It's like, when is this going to come and be as impactful as it would have been a month ago, or even at the pay-per-view? That's why I'm worried about it, but I still think they're building that impact where it will be impactful, or just as impactful, or more impactful than what it would have been to do it earlier. It's like, it's just like they don't want to just blow it all in the very beginning. They are very much wait and make it make sense, not just like from a wrestling idea of it making sense, but from a storytelling, soap opera almost-esque of it making sense, a real deep level of thought process into it. And you have to appreciate it, but sometimes it sucks, because it's like watching an anime, really, where you get into those storylines that are just sort of drug out a little bit, or filler moments for the storyline to make sense, because you need them.
Yeah, I definitely can get what you're saying on that point, and I'm not saying you should have hit him. I'm just saying, like,
you did though.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should have. Like, maybe you should have. I'm not saying this is the wrong way to go. I'm not saying they fucked up. I'm just saying, like, if I was booking it, I would have had to hit him. But it might be, like you said, better that he didn't. It might be better that they're taking their time, and it probably is. Like, now that you said it, you kind of swayed me that like, it's a slow burn and it's long-term storytelling, and you don't really get that very often except for, I don't know, like Japanese companies, and that's about it.
As long as we
Like
get
you
at
don't like
least
see that
3
Naito
matches.
payoff until like that Naito slow burn, that fucking years and years
Yeah,
slow
right.
burn.
That's true.
uh
And I wouldn't be too against the idea that they kind of have that going with one or two guys on the lower card that they're slowly doing that type of thing with too. But I do think that this only works if they this has been such a long story. They have to have 3 fantastic matches. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
like the first one on TV where you don't give much, and then the second one where you give a little more, and the third one where you give it all. It needs to be, I'm not saying it has to be to the level, but you need to go in there with that mindset of Kenny versus Okada. The same,
Yep.
whatever mindset Kenny went in those matches with, he needs to go into this one with, because you don't take this much of my time building something up and not deliver. And I'm not saying they won't, but they need to deliver 3 times because it's been so long. Something this long can't be a one-off fight and it's over. I just don't feel how that makes sense. And I could be wrong when it's all said and done. That's just my preference.
We'll see. Definitely, I would like what you said, but like you said, maybe it would be so satisfying.
If it's a good enough one, I'll give it to
Like
them.
maybe they have a 45, 50-minute banger where it's like an NJPW style,
Right.
kill 'em strong style match, and like that's all you need. But like you said, I feel like even if you have that match, even if you had go all out that hard like an Okada match, you still need more, because like
This has been
even
so
if,
long.
and I'm not saying like you need it like
Mhm.
consecutively. You just need it to happen a few times.
Yep. Okada and Kenny didn't fight each other 3 months in a row. They just fought each other 3 times that were fantastic, and that's kind of where I'm at
Yeah.
with this one. Like, and it's not even because like I feel as a fan I've given you so much time. I'm saying this story has been so good. It needs that. It needs a trilogy. It's a book that's so good. It needs 3 movies, not 1. So make sure they cap it off the right way, and I imagine they will. An interesting storyline. They seem well, and I don't even know if the storyline we thought was going to happen is going to happen. But Chris Jericho and Jake Hager picking up a win over Janela and Sonny Kiss. Sonny Kiss looking really strong in this match for a period of time.
Definitely.
Match going about 10 minutes. I don't know if they're going to run Janela and Sonny versus Jericho and Hager, or if this was it. And I kind of think this was it. But
I do too.
Because Jericho and Hager kind of intended their intentions on going for the AEW tag team titles. I'm not sure if maybe Joey and Sonny play a role in that, because they end up costing them a match and costing them ranking status, something like that. It's also interesting Jericho not really teaming with Sammy for this one,
That's
or
what I was
going
gonna
forward.
say. I wish it was Sammy. No offense to Hager, but I just don't like him that much. I think he's great as a heater. I think he's great as, his muscle. That's fine, but I don't want to see him go for the tag titles. That's not something I'm looking forward to. If it was Sammy and Jericho, I'd be all in. I'd be like, yeah, okay, Sammy and Jericho going for the titles. This is awesome. Lay sex gods. Let's
Yep.
do it. But it's the human brick wall, Jake Hager, and I just can't care.
Yeah, kind of the same. I don't love the Hager and Jericho connection. I prefer Lay Sex Gods myself. I get why Sammy wasn't on this one, but again, I would have because he was thrown off of a scaffolding and he shouldn't be on this show for sure. But you could have still kept him in the tag team contention with Jericho. You could have waited to do this match till next week. So that's the only thing I wish for. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not mad about it. Jericho he's got to do something important, so it's fine. Especially if Kenny's coming out of the tag team scene. Throw another main eventer in there. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
We then cut to another promo segment. This was the show of promos. We get MJF. He says that Dictator John had to cheat, but he doesn't blame him. He figured out who to blame, and that's his campaign. He starts firing everyone. Everyone leaves. Wardlow goes to leave after being called an illiterate idiot, but MJF tells him that if they have a problem, Tony Khan isn't the one who signs his checks. MJF is, and he will send him and his whole family on the street. MJF then asks Wardlow if he has a problem. Wardlow says no. MJF says good. So clearly building up to this slowly but surely. I really like this. I really do. I'm not going to lie, because I could see Wardlow being a really popular babyface coming out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Wardlow is going to look good coming out of this. I'm excited to see Wardlow versus MJF. I think everybody's excited to see Wardlow kick MJF's ass. Like, I think everybody's been wanting that. So it'll be cool. And you get a big guy babyface out of it, and you don't really have those except Will Hobbs, who's on Dark, which we talked about on Saturday. So I think this could be a really good move. It's a really good direction to go in. I do hope that's where they're going towards the pay-per-view, and they're not going to keep this drawn out for a little longer. I hope that they kind of, because MJF, like, it's cool he has a heater, but MJF doesn't need one. He can do it like Ric Flair style and just cheat. He's fine. He doesn't really, like, necessarily need a big muscly guy.
Almost better
back
off
him.
without it right now. Like, he can get another one down the line, or if he does end up with one again, I'm not mad about it, but it's almost better off for him to now establish himself that he can win for even like 6 months or a year as a solo guy, even if it is by cheating Ric Flair style. He needs a little bit of that to continue to help establish him. If he wins his first title with no one in his corner, that's amazing. So
Absolutely. Like, I think it would just make him look stronger as a character, because, like, he looks weaker because he has a big guy, he has Wardlow behind him throwing the the diamond ring or whatever, and all this going in his advantage. The campaign, Wardlow, this, that, and the other. But if you have him just win matches by cheating, he'll look like $1 million.
Yep, and you'll hate him more, So I get that
because he's good.
And honestly, this is a chance for him to really show. They've talked about it. He's the future of the company for the next however many years. And I agree with it. I believe it. But this is the beginning of that. I wasn't necessarily expecting MJF to make someone in a year, but he very well could help make Wardlow right here, right now, in the time that they've worked together as a unit, and now separating them. And Wardlow was never really that big of a heel when he was with MJF, unless he was instructed to be. So I really like where this is going. It's cool that they've already established MJF signs his contract, because that's obviously how he'll get out of it. They'll wrestle a match for his contract, and that'll be fun in and of itself. So this is cool. I'm excited about the beginning of this storyline, because it makes perfect sense. And people were kind of criticizing us going into the pay-per-view for saying, well, who would Moxley face, and who's MJF has better people to face. Well, really, MJF going up against Wardlow is kind of a better storyline than anything we had suggested. So I just didn't think they were going to do it so soon. I'm not against it, though.
No, same here.
So a good segment there. After that, we get a Moxley promo. He says that he saw that Archer had won. When he saw that, he said to himself, son of a bitch, it's not getting any easier, but this isn't an easy situation. There are no shortcuts. The only way to become AEW champion is to climb through a mile of crap and then climb the mountain on the other side. Moxley says he knows deep down he's unstoppable, and when the title's on the line, the only question Archer needs to ask himself is he really going to bet against Moxley? And that was a good line, because I kind of agree with it. With Moxley coming over MJF, I don't know who I would bet on actually beating Moxley right now.
Yeah,
outside
absolutely.
of Kenny.
It was a great line. Outside of Kenny, it was a great line. And also, you definitely know Archer is going to lose, because they announced on this show that it will not be at Full Gear. So no chance of that happening. But it's going to be a great match.
I'll give them credit as a company, though. I'll give them credit as a company that I agree with you to about 95%, but I'll give them 5% that they do fun stuff that I'm not going to act like it's impossible, but I do agree that he's probably not going to win the title that night. He might win a match. He might kill Moxley afterwards, but he's definitely not winning the title that night.
Yeah, I would say so. And here's the cool thing about this match. We know they can deliver, because they've wrestled before, and it was pretty awesome in New Japan for the U.S. title. And it was a great match, and I liked it anyways. I think they can definitely do it again. My only thoughts about it were Mox was a little slow, which is weird considering it was Archer as his opponent. His knees didn't connect, because it's New Japan. You expect it to be a stiffer style, and he was coming out of the WWE, and he wasn't really used to actually kneeing people in the head, which makes reasonable sense that he does not do that. But it was. They can deliver a great match, and this is going to be a great match, and it's going to be interesting, and it's going to have people tuning in, and that's what you need. You need Mox, you need realistic competitors for him to go against, and that's the draw. Just go see Mox, and maybe the monster will win. Maybe that 5% will keep people on their edge to go, maybe Mox is going to lose, or maybe they're going to go a route I didn't expect, or maybe they're going to hot potato the title, and he'll lose it and get it back at Full Gear. Who knows? But all we do know is that, one, it's going to be a good match. Two, Mox delivered a good promo. And three, I think they have more to talk about than MJF and Mox did, because there's more history with these two. You have two legitimately, like, not legitimate, but like two badasses.
They're similar in that style of just being gritty assholes.
If Mox takes Lance Archer out of the ring, you're not like, oh, Mox has the advantage. It's like, no fucking way does Mox have the advantage.
You're just like, shit's about to get real. So
yeah. So it's a good matchup, and I think it's going to do well whenever they have their match. I think it's going to be on a Dynamite, they said. So
the anniversary episode of Dynamite, the 1 year anniversary.
So I fully expect this to be a great match and to get a good rating with it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the build should be very fun. And if they can turn that 5% into 15%, if we're going into that week of Dynamite talking about, I still think Moxley's gonna win, but I've got a little bit more hope now, then I'll be even more happy with where they've gone from it. Because as good of a little angle this is, a good match it's gonna be, I don't know. I'm not sold on it as something that's definitely going to be. Like, I'm not sold on Archer winning. That's the only thing. So
yeah.
From there we get FTR. They're now going to cut a promo with Tully Blanchard. This was a pretty decent promo, but kind of long, so we're not going to go over the whole thing. But they basically just ran down the whole tag team division, talked about how they're better than, and mostly the lower card part of the division, before focusing their situation on Jurassic Express, talking about how they'll be facing them next week. Not for a chance at the titles, but if they get a win next week, then maybe they'll give them a shot at the titles. I do like this little feud being built between Jurassic Express and FTR. This is a good little stopgap for FTR before they get into their first major feud. Yeah.
This is the perfect way to start FTR as champions, is to give them Jurassic Express and have Jurassic Express fight like hell. And they're probably going to come up short. And if here's the thing, it's a non-title match. So it's also possible that they win the match and then they lose the title match, which is cool. That would be a great way to put Jurassic Express over, make them look like a real tag team for once, make them look like they're significant.
It would be a good build off of the Lucha Brothers win, which was their first ever significant win, Don't just go off of that to a loss immediately. I hope that it's built. I guess, and I could be wrong. My immediate thought is that they will somehow pick up a victory and get another match down the line, but you're right. That might not happen. I hope it's a good match. It's the first opportunity, I think, for Jurassic Express to have a really, really good tag team match, because it's one that has importance, doesn't feel like just a quick squash, but I guess it could end up going that way. But the fact that they felt the need to build up some storyline presence of it this week with Jurassic Express getting involved with them, I think that it's something building there.
Yeah, something definitely is building there. I do want to say this about Jurassic Express, and it's not because of Joseph, but I really see Luchasaurus as the weak link. I think Jungle Boy is so
since the injury, which is
good.
Unfortunate. I don't know if maybe I just wasn't seeing it so much prior to the injury, so I don't want to blame the injury. But since the injury, I've been way more out on him than I have been in. I don't know if maybe he hasn't realized he should change up his style to be less like a karate lucha dragon guy and just be a strong big man as he should be, because that's my biggest issue with it at this point, is just some of the slow kicks that he tries to do like a ninja fighter that just, they look bad. Other than that,
they look real bad. And he tries to do these hyper athletic spots. Keep the standing moonsault, nix everything else.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. That looks cool. Everything else looks wacky and overdone, and usually doesn't play great, and it doesn't look like they're connecting, or you just see him, smacking his thigh.
And as a tag team, really, they had a couple moves that they did together in the early stages, and now I don't really see them do a whole lot as a team.
Same. It just seems like Luchasaurus is there to get Jungle Boy the hot tag, which is good in a sense to get Jungle Boy over, but that's not going to work forever.
And it's supposed to be the other way around, really, because Lucha's the big guy, so it is a weird thing.
It is that way a lot of times, which is kind of not what I want. To that end, I want Jungle Boy to be the Ricky Morton and get the hot tag and go in and clean house. And,
that's why he works better with Marco. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because
That's
it
absolutely
makes
true.
way more sense for him to be the hot tag in that situation. It's like it's so weird because we thought him being with Luchasaurus would be the better situation, but I think as it all came to develop, he probably would have been better off with Marco if they would have been pushed properly. I think, and who knows
Yeah.
where they're at right now? Because I don't see them coming out too strong of this feud. If they pick up one win, then they'll be as strong as they've ever looked, but they'll obviously lose the second one. So where do they go from there? So I do like that they're doing something with them though, and they're almost like a perfect feeder team at this point. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
they're great, like 65 overall to feed to your really good guys. Like it's just like unfortunate because Jungle Boy should be bigger than that, and I do think they are laying the groundwork for that slowly but surely. But man,
They are. It just, I wish it was here already.
well, and
That's
it
my
kind of
point.
is. It kind of is, but obviously the writing on the wall is that they're going to lose at least one of these two matches. There's no way they win them both. But as long as they look strong, which is where it's like he looks better with Marco because he looks stronger with Marco.
Yep.
So
And I don't know. I think Jungle Boy just outshines him in the ring. Like every time Jungle Boy does something, he's great. It's fluid. He's always on point. Not always, but like most of the time, he's always on point, and he kills it, and he really gets you excited to like cheer for him. He's got a great look. I don't know if he can promo still, but
right.
other than that, man, Jungle Boy's great. I just can't say enough praise for him.
Yeah. Speaking of promos, we've got another one. Taz joins commentary, talks about the unfortunate situation with Darby Allin. They show the replay of him getting body bagged. And then Taz says Darby Allin is here, but of course it's Ricky Starks playing into the Darby Allin gimmick again, which is pretty fun. He just basically shits on Darby and says that every time he shows up, he's going to kick Darby's ass, so...
Yeah, I like this though. He was calling him reckless. He was not relentless. I like that angle of it.
I just wanted to keep it short because I couldn't have done the promo as good as he did. But it was a good promo.
Ricky Starks has been killing it. You're absolutely right. And it's really cool to see him get such a prominent position on TV, even if he does have to wear face paint to do it. But I really like Ricky Starks. I'm really glad he's doing this well and shining this well. And I like that he was saying, like, you're reckless. Because, honest to God, that's the truth. Darby Allin absolutely is reckless. And like he is relentless too, sure. But he's reckless in the ring. He's reckless in his matches. He's reckless in his video segments. He
Something
does crazy
that I
shit
really
without
liked,
thinking about it.
and I'm sure a lot of people... It either A, wasn't intended this deep, or a lot of people don't know or take it this deep. But he said something about how he's sitting at home hurt alone because he's reckless. And I don't know if anyone's aware, but Darby just is in the process of getting divorced or in the process of getting separated from Priscilla
I didn't know
Kelly.
that.
Which, like, that little, the alone part, to me, I was like, yeah, that's a dagger a little bit. And obviously it's all storyline and shit, but I like, if it wasn't intended to be a dagger because... wrestling fans know that they're separating. Like, this isn't breaking news. That Priscilla tweeted about it. So because it's like common knowledge, it's kind of funny. It's kind of fun to have seen him go that deep, and another reason for Darby to just be more reckless. So
Yeah.
after that promo, we get some replays of Swole beating Britt Baker and then Hikaru Shida defeating Thunder Rosa in their match. So just sort of finally showcasing some women's stuff that they should be doing more often. And then we get Nyla Rose defeating Tay Conti in about 5.5 minutes. Post-match, Vicky cuts a quick promo saying they're the Vicious Vixens and they're there to make a statement. But then Nyla Rose continues to kill Tay Conti, hits her with another beast bomb before Hikaru Shida comes out and makes a save. I thought it was weird because I thought Tay Conti was joining the Dark Order, but obviously just setting up Nyla versus Shida by having Nyla destroy Tay.
I think Phil overplayed Conti because she wasn't. I'm not saying she was bad, but he was talking about her like she was great, and she's not that good. Like, she's fine. But, you know, like, I would say, like, you know, Penelope Ford or someone like that is probably better.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, Ford isn't, like, amazing. So, like, I'm not saying she did anything super wrong or anything, but there was some sloppy moments, and it was a short match, so, like, there really shouldn't be. It was fine.
It's a weird signing to me. I don't really understand this one.
I don't either.
Unless they're just super confident that they can take someone who's green in the ring and make them really, really good. I don't understand it yet.
But she's on TV. Like, there's like, what about Abaddon? Why isn't she getting beaten by Nyla Rose? I guess because you don't want her to do that. But like, there's other wrestlers, Evilise. Like, there's other people here who could be doing work, Diamante. And instead you put Tay Conti on TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a good feeder match, but it's just a weird signing. I think that if I'm them, I take whatever money we allocated to sign Tay Conti and put that with whatever money we allocate to sign Tessa Blanchard and give Tay's money as well. So we have more money.
Didn't they sign Serena Deeb?
I don't know. I think so. I use her. But I mean, honestly, I'm dead
exactly.
serious.
Like,
in terms of budgeting money, I would not have signed someone like Tay and made a super aggressive offer to someone like Tessa, because when you're signing someone who's just like, it seems like a pretty face signing, man. That's all it seems like. So it's weird to me. Very WWE.
It does seem like that. It does seem like a pretty face signing. And so let's say they did sign Serena Deeb. Maybe we're wrong, but I think she did too. I think she did get signed. I remember is All Elite. But anyways, wouldn't you have a more believable match here if it was Nyla Rose versus Serena Deeb and it was a good match and it was like 10 minutes and it's like, oh, this matters, and Nyla Rose beating her matters, and Nyla Rose looking strong here matters.
Maybe they just didn't want to beat Serena again that quick in terms of like a squash.
That's fair.
And maybe even they would have wanted Serena to go a little longer. Tay is one of the more volatile. Like, you could squash her and it makes sense because she's not very. She's almost like, it's almost like they signed Anna Jay to be a pretty jobber, but then they decided to put her in the group and make her something. So then they were like, well, we need another pretty jobber. So then they signed Tay Conti. Hopefully she doesn't get added to the group. Otherwise they're gonna sign someone else.
Yep.
From there, we get another interview segment. This time, Jim Ross with Kenny Omega asking what went wrong and how Kenny processed the situation. And Kenny says that they did have some chemistry, that he felt like what he was doing, he was meant to do in AEW, but now he's really not feeling it. He feels like he needs to go back to the singles direction. He gave a year of his life to the tag team, and he thinks he's going to go back to singles action. And I kind of really liked what Kenny was saying in this promo. It all made a lot of sense, and obviously continues that dilemma we spoke about earlier. So
definitely. This was a really cool interview. I love these Jim Ross interviews because they feel so like important. I wish they would, like, I like using Tony, but I think if you use Jim Ross, it gives a level of gravitas, like those sit down things they did in WWE. I really like this. I thought Kenny is like going in that, singles direction. Good. He might be going in the cleaner direction, even better. He might be like a tweener kind of character. Cool. That's fine. Make Hangman the face for all I care.
Right.
Like, this is really cool. And you have somebody not only who, after you do the Hangman match, you could have a potential person for Mox to face, and you're like, oh man, Mox could fucking lose.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there 100%, and that would be very interesting as well. So yeah, just building on Kenny, and Kenny referencing the fact that he wasn't in the position people had expected him to be in. He was chasing tag teams instead of doing what was expected of him, and maybe now he's going to do what was expected of him. And that made me so excited because I really thought about it. I'm like, man, we really thought we were going to see Kenny Omega singles matches all the time, so much fun. The most we see from his singles matches is like him versus a jobber, a quick squash.
We got that feud with Pac. That was cool.
That's the one. That was like the first feud he did.
Yeah, and that was about it. Like, there wasn't really any other big Kenny matches where we were hyped. Like, the Iron Man with Pac was great, but like, we didn't get a lot of that.
It's just a much different product, honestly. And I'm not saying that Kenny has to do a 5-star singles match every week, but it's a different product if we're seeing Kenny wrestle as a solo guy every couple weeks even. And I get it. It's almost like now they've made us wait so long. They've made it special, made it into something. I can't wait. But yeah, I just can't wait. So now we can run down next week's card. We got the Best Friends taking on Santana and Ortiz in a parking lot brawl. That should be fun. I almost hope that that's going to be cinematic in a sense, because I think that this group of 4 could do so much in that environment, and just like like sort of maybe like borderline, beating the piss out of each other, but with the funny stuff too.
Yeah.
So then we have FTR taking on Jurassic Express, as we already mentioned. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager taking on Private Party. Hangman taking on Kazarian. MJF will be in action. We also have Thunder Rosa defending the NWA Women's title against Evil East, so that should be a lot of fun. Clearly Thunder Rosa sticking around for a little while longer. And then commentary says to stick to social media to find out when next week's Dynamite is going to be due to the playoffs, which we already went over. So a really good card. Thunder Rosa versus Evil East for the Women's Championship should be a lot of fun. I hope they treat it as important as they should.
Yeah. That's the key. If they treat it as important as they should, like give this match 10 minutes minimum, make it 15. That would be cool because I know it's not their title, but it's still a title.
Put it on semi-main, like give it a lot of importance. I'm not saying main, but semi-main.
Do something with it. Like make it feel like there's some importance to this title and to Thunder Rosa being here at all, and make it cool, man. Because we know Thunder Rosa can bring it. She got a lot of people. She got a lot of fans over the course of Saturday, and if you want to capitalize on that right now, definitely do it. Like, if you want to pop a rating and use Thunder Rosa more, keep doing it, brother. I love it. A lot of other good matches here, like you said, best friend Santana Ortiz. I'll go either way if it's cinematic or they just beat the hell out of each other.
I don't expect it to be. I would love it because these guys, the best friends are so funny. Proud and Powerful are honestly so funny. Like they all do so much interesting, fun stuff in their matches that if they got the opportunity to have a street fight in that type of way, could be a lot of fun.
They kind of said in their promo earlier, like, we're not going to have fun. Like, they literally said, like,
AJ,
we're not wrestling.
You take my fun away every time.
Well, they did, not me, but they said they're not going to have fun. They're not going to hug. They're here to kick their asses, and they can sub their apologies up their asses and all that. So I feel like this is just going to be like a fight, like a brawl.
I would like to see that too, honestly. It's a different direction for the best friends, so I'm not going to complain if they do that as well. You're right, though. A lot of good matches.
And MJF in action is going to be good because we're going to get more of the Wardlow stuff, so that'll be interesting. There's a lot on this card that I like. I like we were talking about before the podcast. It's been promos like for every all AEW, for every Dynamite. It's just been the promo show for like the past couple weeks.
2 weeks at least, yeah.
Yeah. And so to get a stacked card with a lot of matches and like people in action, great. That's what I want to see. Like, and capitalize after that million views. Like, get people to want to see this next show.
Yeah, and I will commend them on the fact that they do a good job at sort of cycling people in and out. They talked about it before AEW started, and they've done a good job at it in terms of we don't see Kenny on every show, we don't see Mox wrestling on every show, but we do see a lot of good talent most weeks. Best friends a lot of times. We got Hangman finally wrestling in some singles matches next week against Kaz. That's going to be a good one. So I'm excited for next week too. To close out this week, they had Brody Lee defend his title against Dustin Rhodes in about 10.5 minutes. So he beats the time that Cody took, but still Brody
by a lot.
Yeah, still Brody picks up the win. I do understand the storyline sense of that because to me, I was like, well, maybe Brody just, like, to me, Cody, didn't take Brody seriously. Dustin did. Cody went into that match thinking, oh, this is another quick, easy one, gets caught off guard, loses to someone who was more than ready for that situation. So I get the storyline purpose of it. But yeah, a good, simple little match. I didn't think a whole lot of it. Post-match, they bring out QT Marshall, who was knocked out. And then they pick up Dustin. Brody hits him with a low blow, and that closes out the show. The Dark Order destroying Dustin Rhodes once again, or a member of the Rhodes family, I should say, once again.
This match didn't do anything for him, man. And it's not because Dustin did well. It wasn't like, oh, man, Dustin didn't get squashed. I'm angry. It's kind of the opposite. Like, they were building up so much, like, I haven't had a title match in I don't know how many years. I want gold again. So I really wanted to see Dustin, like, go really hard. And I guess he did, but it felt like it was just kind of a regular match. Like, you know, just a regular match and he got beat. Like, if he had, like, maybe, like, kicked out of, like, a big move or something, I would have, like, maybe popped for this a little more because it makes Dustin look like the old-timer getting his shot and he doesn't want to let it slip away. And not only that, but he has his brother's situation resting on him. I kind of wanted to see Dustin get more, not going to lie. So it just kind of fell a little flat to me, just like a regular defense, which is fine. Doesn't have to be anything more
Well,
than that.
and
Dark Order looks good.
we will probably always feel that way when it's a first defense. You know what I mean, of a title, because it's Brody's first
Yeah.
defense. We know we
That's
knew
fair.
it wasn't going to be Dustin, but yeah. So it's hard sometimes with matches like that. Maybe we're too deep into the wrestling smark territory that we don't really suspend our disbelief
That's
enough,
fair.
or what it is. Because as a kid, I loved TV matches that had
Oh, yeah.
TV championship matches. But now, as an adult, it's hard for me to really get into a lot of them. But I really can't lie. I liked this. This was a decent little match between these guys. They're kind of beating the shit out of each other for a minute there, so I like it. They kept the storyline going a little bit. So QT Marshall getting knocked out, carried to the ring. Again, it wasn't the best match. It really wasn't the best Dynamite for great matches, but it was an interesting Dynamite. There was some excitement with Miro and stuff like that. So good enough for me, for sure.
Definitely. I wasn't watching it all upset and grumpy, being like, oh man, too many promos. It was a post show. It was fine.
Honestly, in viewing, I wasn't thinking it was too many promos. It was more so when we talked about having to talk about all the promos. I was like, damn, there's a lot of
exactly.
promos.
It was a lot of promos, but it was fine. It wasn't terrible or anything. It wasn't the best Dynamite they've ever had. It's not the Dynamite I wish got 1 million viewers, but it did its job, and I think people are gonna tune in again. Like if you got new viewers this week, I think they'll be interested enough in the product to keep with you. The tough part is they don't know when they're gonna be airing.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I liked it. Do you want to talk about what happened?
Oh, we have to. At post show, Cody says he likes to go big or go home. Maybe because he's injured, he should go home. Maybe not. Maybe he should do something big. He created his own quarantine bubble in Atlanta. And the Go Big Show is a competition series like no other. No singing, no dancing, just action-packed feats. It's a variety talent show with a winner getting a $100,000 grand prize. If you are an AEW mark like me, for a solid 20, 30 seconds, you were like, oh shit, we're getting the second show. This is great. AEW's starting their second TV show. And instead, we got some weird-ass reality TV show that Cody's a part of. That was a strange 2-minute advertisement. I thought the show was starting right then, and it didn't even start right then, which is even more pathetic. Some movie came on 30 seconds later. This was
the Bourne Ultimatum. How dare him, kidding?
Jesus, AJ. I understand cross promotion shit, and obviously this is a network request, and I understand all of that. But God, man, this screamed every shitty bad thing that we've talked about in many different companies in the past, and it just kind of was there. It's what it was.
Cody's off TV because he's supposed to be hurt. You don't tell the audience, hey, he's not hurt. He's on the big show or the
Go Big Show.
Go Big Show.
You can't call it the Big Show. That's already on Netflix.
You're right, it is. The Go Big Show, the variety talent show. That's why Cody's gone. Okay, great. Cody lost his title, and it was so unimportant to him that he just went to go film something with Snoop Dogg. Great, good to hear. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was the worst. It was the worst end to a Dynamite. And you know what? TNT is gonna fucking love them because they got 1 million views on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was 1 million people tuned in to the Brody
you know what I
versus
mean,
Dustin
though. It was
match.
a high number.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a high number. It's a lot of advertising right into whatever that show is going to be. And I think there was probably a portion of AEW's demographic who saw that and was like, oh, I gotta see this. I gotta
You're
see
right.
these.
That's sad.
I gotta see this talent show. So
that's disgusting.
My biggest issue, honestly, with it, I don't even care about how kind of hokey it is, because I get working with the network. It was probably a network request, all that shit. It's not really the most WCW, TNT, or TNA thing that you could do. There's worse shit you could do. My biggest issue is we've been teasing and talking, maybe not even teasing, but talking about the
third hour,
the third hour or another show or something. And instead, this is you can't talk about that shit in the same week you're going to do an announcement like this. Or if you are, and I guess in their interviews and shit, they did say it's a little bit far off, but to me as a fan, that still leaves me the idea that you're just trying to hide the exciting announcement that's coming after Dynamite. Like, I genuinely thought we were getting an announcement about the third hour.
I did too. I was confused as to if this was the third hour.
I know, my friend, and that was, and even I was for a second when he's talking about a quarantine bubble in Atlanta,
Yeah, that's
and
why
doing
I was like, oh
doing
my God,
extreme
no.
doing extreme stuff. I was like, is this like some weird tournament of death? Like they're doing death matches on TNT, like, and then next thing you know, it's just some god awful game show, and I'm like, man, I worked myself into a shoot, brother.
I was thinking, like, it's a game show. It's tough enough. I don't know what it's going to be. Oh, my God, what are they doing? And then just, like, fire and people twirling on unicycles. It's just like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still excited for the whenever they get a third hour and hope they can do something fun and cool with it, but this was not it, and it was a weird way to close out your show and could have just been done any other way. But yeah, I think even commentary didn't know what the hell was going on because they were like, tune into our social media for Cody's announcement after the show, and then the announcement was literally after the
On
show.
the show,
and way to
yeah.
be like, oh, AEW breaking news announcement. I was like, oh, this is a cool little thing they're doing. This is something new. And it was just a fucking ad.
Like, if they had... Okay, I would have hated this less if they didn't do what you just said, the breaking news announcement. Because that makes me think this pertains to AEW.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
It does.
at
Cody's
all.
on it. It does.
Cody's on it, I guess. You're right. But, like, does that really... Like, Cody's not
How
all of AEW.
funny is it, too? I thought Cody was about to be on some, like, show like he was when he was on the Green Lantern or whatever, and instead he's on a reality TV show as a host. It's not the worst gig ever. John Cena does shit like this, so it does make sense. But it's kind of it's weird seeing Cody as the John Cena of AEW. But that's obviously how the network views him.
Yeah.
So
I mean, which is cool in a sense, and it gives AEW more exposure for people who are going to tune into that show who have no idea what AEW is.
How many of them do you really think there are?
I don't know, man. There's weird people out there.
There's no one who knew about the Go Big show before they knew about AEW.
That's fair.
But I do understand what you're saying, and I agree. It does help in the long
What about the
stream.
Snoop Dogg fans?
and who knows? Like for Cody, it's kind of like this show might not be his big show, but who knows? Down the line, he could pull like John Cena's doing the bringing back Wipeout, so maybe in 20 years, Cody will get to bring back Wipeout.
I think Jericho hosted a game show once too.
Yeah, so it works. I understand the idea of it. The announcement was the weirdest, most awful way to do it, but that's just me and my picky self. That does wrap up.
I don't think that's just you in this case. I don't think we're the minority here.
I hope not, but we have been so many times that we've constantly been accused of being fake AEW fans because we're too critical that I sometimes wonder. But this was a good show. Not the greatest show, but a fine follow-up to the pay-per-view, a good way to start building up to the next set of storylines. We've pretty much covered everything that we needed to cover news-wise, covering Dynamite. We will be back next Thursday to cover AEW once again, hopefully with our boy Phil and Kira and all of the friendly people that watch the show on Twitter and YouTube. AJ, you want to tell them where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And you can follow the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. We are on Instagram at AllEliteEverything. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. And we are also on Twitter at AllElitePodcast. You can find me on Twitter at AllEliteAndy. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, subscribing, liking, retweeting, all the fun, great stuff that you guys do. Until next week, see ya.
We'll see you next Wednesday night, everybody.